In the world of AI, a year can feel like a decade. And 2025? Well, that was the year one name just completely rewrote the rules of the game, Qwen. We're going to break down how this open source project didn't just compete, it absolutely came to dominate. Okay, let's dive right into this because it's a fascinating story of tech, strategy, and just perfect timing. The big question we're tackling is this: how in the world did one family of models, the Qwen series, cause such a massive shift in the entire AI industry in just 12 short months? So to really get why Qwen was such a big deal, you got to rewind the clock a bit. We have to remember what the world looked like at the start of 2024. It was a totally different place, really, defined by these incredibly powerful but walled-off AI systems. And for developers, for businesses, man, this was a huge problem. The best AI was basically a black box. You were paying sky-high API costs, you had some serious, and I mean serious, concerns about data privacy, and you had almost zero ability to customize the core tech you were building on. The industry was just itching for a change. And that change? It showed up in the form of a scrappy, open-source challenger. 2025 became Qwen's tipping point. That was the moment it went from just being a contender to becoming the undisputed champion of OpenAI. Okay, this is where the numbers just tell the whole story, and the transformation is absolutely staggering. I mean, just look at the leap from 2024 to 2025. The model count didn't just grow, it exploded, from about 100 to over 300. But the real game changer was the technology itself. They went from having separate models for vision and audio to this unified native omni-model system. We'll get into what that means in a second, but this tech leap is what flipped them from being a strong challenger to the global open-source leader. And this, right here, this was the hero of our story, Qwen 3. Its release wasn't just another update, it was a statement. It was proof that an open-source model could deliver the kind of top-tier performance that, until then, was pretty much the exclusive playground of the closed-source giants. So, how did they pull it off? It all came down to a technical revolution. See, they weren't just building bigger models. They were building smarter ones. Let's take a look at the tools that really forged their dominance. The Qwen 3 revolution really boiled down to three key things. First, the technical leap was just immense. We're talking about handling up to 1 million tokens of context. That's like feeding it a whole novel. And it used a super refined mixture of experts architecture to be incredibly efficient. Second, this had a massive impact on developers. It quickly became the go-to base model for any company wanting to fine-tune something for their own needs. And third, the timing was just perfect. It landed right when the industry was crying out for a powerful, transparent alternative. And this right here really drives home the next point: scale. For the longest time, having the biggest parameter count was this symbol of power, something only the big proprietary systems had. Qwen just smashed that barrier. It showed you could build these massive, incredibly powerful models out in the open, and you didn't have to give up on efficiency to do it. And get this, it wasn't just a one-hit wonder. This timeline shows what people started calling the summer of scale. Just look at this pace. Over a couple of months in mid-2025, they just dropped this relentless series of models, each one more powerful than the last. First the 235B, then Qwen 3 Max, then Qwen 3 next. This wasn't a slow crawl. It was an all-out sprint that left everyone else scrambling. But the innovation didn't stop with text. Nope. The next big breakthrough was something called OmniFlash. Instead of having separate models for its different senses, they created one unified brain that could seamlessly process text, vision, and audio all at the same time. And what this unified approach unlocked was, well, pretty remarkable. Getting vision and audio to talk to each other inside one model without any lag is incredibly hard, but they cracked it. All of a sudden, you had these real-time conversations using voice and vision that could go toe-to-toe with the best closed systems out there. It set a new open-source record for text-to-image quality, and for developers, this was huge. A single, simple model meant less complexity and lower costs. It was a true game changer. Now, you can have the best tech in the world, right? But if nobody uses it, what's the point? And this is where Qwen's strategy was just as revolutionary as its tech. They went for what people started calling the Linux of AI strategy. They weren't just releasing code. They were building an army of developers. And believe me, people noticed. This quote from Fortune magazine just captures the feeling perfectly. By choosing transparency over secrecy, they were democratizing access to elite AI, basically empowering a whole global community of builders and innovators. And the result of that whole strategy? This, a sprawling global ecosystem of over 300 different models.
Think about that. This wasn't one company's project anymore, it was a collaborative effort on a scale the AI world had never seen before.
And with that kind of massive, collaborative ecosystem, with that much buy-in from the community, well, becoming #1 in the open source rankings wasn't just a goal, it was pretty much inevitable.
So with Qwen sitting firmly on top, the entire AI landscape had no choice but to change. Let's dig into the market impact of this new reality and what it tells us about the road ahead.
From an investor's point of view, this was just a brilliant move. I mean, think about it. How do you compete with a frontier-level model that's also free? The answer is you really can't. Qwen built what we call an open-source moat. By making their powerful tools the standard, they capture the loyalty and creativity of the entire global developer community.
And their ambition didn't just stop at the cloud. This slide shows their next strategic pivot. They took Qwen's incredible efficiency and started moving it from those massive server farms to personal hardware, which led to the launch of the Quark AI glasses. AI was no longer just in some data center, it was literally on your face. All right, so if you're running a business, what's the playbook now? It really comes down to 3 key moves. 1, embrace cost efficiency. Deploying Qwen on your own servers cuts API costs and seriously improves data privacy. 2, leverage customization. Fine-tuning these models for your specific industry is a massive competitive edge. And 3, prioritize Qwen for your core tasks, where having control of your data is absolutely critical.
So, to sum it all up, Qwen's legacy from 2025 is that it completely bridged the gap between open source and the top-tier frontier AI models. And looking ahead to 2026, the focus is now shifting to deep hardware integration and building these really complex multi-agent systems on top of this powerful foundation.
And that brings us to the final verdict here. Qwen isn't just another language model anymore. It has grown into a full-blown AI platform. And in doing that, it has fundamentally changed how the entire world accesses, builds with, and deploys artificial intelligence.
This whole revolution has put the most powerful tools in the hands of, well, everyone. Which leaves us with one final, and I think really exciting question to think about. Now that this kind of frontier AI is accessible to all, what are we going to build next?